Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Three Kingdoms video. At the time of recording this video, it's not long until the Furious Wild releases. As a content partner with Creative Assembly, I've had access to the Furious Wild DLC for a fair amount of time. I've been able to play as the new non-man factions, experience the new heroes, and use as many of the new units as possible. So with that, I wanted to do a small but honest review on a Furious Wild in an effort to help you guys decide if you should buy it or not. So without further ado, let's begin. The Furious Wild is an expansion pack sized DLC coming for Total War Three Kingdoms. This DLC pack not only expands the map, which is the first time this has happened for Three Kingdoms, but also introduces a brand new culture into the Three Kingdoms era. The Non-Man are a people native to the jungles in southern China. Completely different to the Han and Yellow Turban cultures that we've already seen implemented into the game. These are a people who are more in tune with nature. They don't need to hide behind great walls, but rather make use of the terrain that surrounds them. They are a proud people who build bonds with the great beasts that roam the jungles in southern China. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into the game so you can see if this is right for you. With this DLC, there are 4 playable faction leader characters unique to the Non-Man culture. First we have Meng Huo, one of the great kings of the Non-Man. He is seen as both a ferocious warrior and a valuable ally. His faction is based around rapid expansion. The more tribes you beat down and confederate with, the more faction benefits you'll accumulate over time. Next is Lady Jurong, a woman with a fiery attitude. Her campaign revolves around timed expansion, normally tied to her campaign mechanics. She and her forces can become immensely powerful for a few turns, but after which Lady Jurong will find herself in a moment of weakness, so time your expansions wisely. Next we have Shamaka, the ruler of the 5 valleys. Shamaka also benefits from great rewards when aggressively expanding. However, being stuck between the Han and the Non-Man might prove problematic, so you're put in a position of choosing your allies wisely. And lastly we have King Mulu, a friend to the animal kingdom before the people. King Mulu benefits from a upkeep reduction to all animal units, which means that if you want to field a full army of elephants or tigers, it could be entirely possible. All 4 characters have the possible start dates of 190 CE or 194 CE, and as expected, all 4 characters may start in the Non-Man territories, not outside. While this might not seem very interesting to players, it is important to note that your campaign can expand to outside the Non-Man territories, but during the beginning stages of your campaign, the first thing you want to do is unite the tribes. That being said, finding yourself in a corner of the map is fairly defendable. There are only a certain number of areas that your enemies can attack you from once you've united all the Non-Man territories. For the purpose of this video, I decided to start up a fresh Meng Huo campaign. In truth, most of the mechanics for the Non-Man peoples themselves are pretty much the same. It's only each different legendary character which has its own specialized mechanics. And even then, there's no need to show multiple characters off. Instead, we'll focus around the generalized stuff, and should you be interested in the Non-Man in general, then you, the player, can decide which one fits your own playstyle. There are a decent amount of Non-Man territories, meaning that you, the player, will be fighting your own people for quite some time if you decide to go through the more aggressive approach. That being said, it is important to note that the other legendary characters will also expand at a decent pace too, so keep an eye out for them. As I stated before, your Non-Man territories are in the left-hand side bottom corner of the map, meaning that you have a lot of area to work with and build yourself up upon. Afterwards, you can easily expand out into the east. China in the Three Kingdoms map is absolutely massive, and whilst the Han crumbles within its own weight, you may build up your strength and prepare yourself to pounce. One thing you may notice is tribal fealties, which is at the top part of your screen. This means how many of the separate Non-Man tribes are under your control. You also have a separate window, which is what's seen right now, in regards to showing off what benefits these tribes provide you with. There are multiple ways to get these fealties, but the quickest way I've found is to beat them down into submission and just simply confederate them. But as always, that is up to the player. Research and technology for the Nanman, known as reforms in Three Kingdoms, is rather different. Here you'll see a quite massive technology tree divided into 3 parts. The first technology is what opens everything up to you, and provides you with an elephant mount for any character of your choosing. But the rest is divided into 3 different sections, each with 2 different subsections to go alongside it. Each of the subsections have their own benefits in different ways. However, once you pick one, the other is locked, which means for your benefit you'd need to look over the whole tree itself to make sure you're not missing out on anything of potential value. I like this, it gives you an element of choice, but I wish there was some sort of extra pop-up window which would more or less explain everything in brief as to what you're basically going for, instead of just having to read every single technology and you might miss one out. Confederation with other tribes has been reworked to be a bit more easier, but also a bit harder in a sense. All you have to do is simply beat down the other tribe to its last remaining village, and then you'll have the option to either loot, occupy, sack and withdraw, vassalize the tribe, or even just confederate with them. This is easy in early game, as obviously some tribes won't be too powerful and usually the player faction starts off with an advantage. However, this is also harder in later game, as the tribes will grow stronger and stronger. And it is very important to note that AI tribes will also confederate other tribes. So as you're expanding, you need to keep an eye out on any other Nanman tribes, which may present a bit of a problem for you as you try to unite every single Nanman tribe. As soon as you confederate with other tribes, you'll notice you'll gain tribal fealty. You'll already have access to another window which shows you all the benefits and negatives that you will get from other tribes. Bear in mind, yes, you will get benefits and negatives from some of them. The window itself will also let you know which ones have been destroyed and which ones are still active. There is a minor inclusion of a storyline in the Furious Wild DLC. Yes, while Total War is a primarily sandbox game, these types of things are always nice for certain flavor, and you're more than able to choose to ignore it or not. The thing I find the most interesting regarding this is that there's no inclusion of the follow the story. That would show up when dilemmas popped up and let you know that this was part of a specific storyline. As far as I've seen, that is completely missing with the Nanman DLC. The units themselves included in this DLC do indeed look okay. In fact, the elephants look amazing and the tigers, which we'll see later on in this video, look really good. The only big issue with the units is that the humans look very samey. Yes, some of them have war paint and so on, but in generalized terms, when looking from afar, they all pretty much look the same. And in truth, that can be quite confusing to the player, especially someone new to Total War. The faction summary for the Nanman is essentially the same thing as it is for the Han and the Yellow Turbans. It is a bit of a shame. I was expecting something different to focus around the Nanman feel. Yes, you've got different names and so on, but it's not really any different. You rise up the ranks the same way you would do as a Nanman or Yellow Turban, which essentially means build up your empire. I don't know, I was expecting something different. Maybe something based around tribal unity or something like that. It's just something that seems like it's a lost potential. So I'm at this point of the campaign. In truth, I've been playing multiple campaigns throughout the time since I've had early access. But before I sat down to do this review, I wanted to have one more playthrough for at least a certain number of turns, to be able to sit down and write my final thoughts regarding the Furious Wild DLC. The Nanman faction itself is quite enjoyable. It brings a breath of fresh air when it comes to Total War Three Kingdoms. Those used to Three Kingdoms will have to radically change their playstyle, as their units are more focused around infantry and elephant cavalry. You don't have access to a lot of horses in general, but your elephants make up for it with pure brute force. That being said, they're not very fast moving and will quickly get decimated by range units or spear units. Mechanic-wise, each of the Nanman factions play quite well, however it feels kinda samey. Yes, each of the legendary characters do have their own mechanics which make them unique in some way, shape or form, but it does feel like everything is part of the same faction. I would have liked a bit more variety between each of the Nanman factions. However, when you do compare them to the Han and the Yellow Turban, well, they are very completely different. Your playstyle will have to radically change, as stated before, And with the Nanman, seeing as you're mostly focused around a melee army, it's actually really interesting. You'll have to strategize more as you're dealing with not only heavy range from the Han, but also potentially devastating cavalry too. This will keep you on your toes when fighting these factions. Fighting against your fellow Nanman can be quite tedious, especially since you have to beat down every single tribe to one settlement in an effort to confederate with them. And it does feel like you need to be fairly quick to unite the tribes before the warlords of other nations start rising up and become a problem when you start wanting to branch out. Settlement battles are pretty fun, to be honest, because now it focuses more around unwalled cities. Think about it in a very similar way to how a Total War Saga Troy presents itself via settlement battles. It's exactly that way, and I believe it works extremely well. The element of choice when in regards to reforms, especially in early game, is fantastic, and it gives me reason to start off multiple campaigns. My only issue with the reforms is having to do a reform just to get an elephant mount. It takes 5 turns, and in all honesty, why would you even need 5 turns? It's not like it really makes that much of a difference. If anything, the faction leader should have already started with an elephant mount, but hey, that's just me. My only real big issue when in regards to this DLC is the fact that the troops seem very samey. As stated before, to a new player this would be very confusing. Many of the units look very much the same, and it can get confusing to new players and even some veterans. I got a bit confused too. Sure, the unit cards are there, but in certain cases you're kind of focused on the battlefield itself rather than just the UI. But all in all, I did find this quite enjoyable. Honestly, the Nanman plays so differently when compared to the other factions that it gives me reason to go back and play it once again. The main issue I had with those of the Han is that they pretty much just played the same. You were just doing the same thing over and over, just in different locations. Whereas with the Nanman now, you don't have the benefit of cavalry to flank your foes, or the safety of walls. I feel like you need to strategize and plan ahead more with the Nanman than you would have with any of the other factions in Three Kingdoms. All in all, I think the Furious Wild is fairly enjoyable. It's not 100% perfect, but then again, what product ever released is? If you're still not sure about the Furious Wild, or indeed Three Kingdoms as a whole, maybe wait for a sale and then get it at a reduced cost. But honestly, I had a lot of fun with this, and if this is the level that they're going to work expansion packs for, I'm hoping that we'll see more quality DLC in this standard. Not just for Three Kingdoms, but other games too. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to social media such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games, where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase with our special link and our special code, both of which are in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Pence and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VSVasan and Aaron Whitman for subscribing to us at our King level. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, commenting on these videos. Believe it or not, it really does help a channel get more growth. And in truth, we have been seeing a lot of that lately. It's amazing to see how far the channel has gone in just a short amount of time. And all of this is because of you. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again. And I shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.